This episode of Geni's Way is brought to you by Unique Marketer, where passionate marketing delivers powerful results.
What if the key to building a successful life in business isn't just strategy or hustle, but the stories we tell ourselves? In today's episode, I sit down with Fletcher Ellingson to explore something deeper: how our language shapes our reality, how commitment leads to empowerment, and why feeling good isn't just a luxury, it's a relationship principle. If you have ever wondered how to create momentum in your life, how to align your actions with purpose, or how to lead with emotional integrity, this conversation is for you. So now let's get into it.
Hi, welcome back to Geni's Way, where we talk about mindset, marketing, money, and much more. I am so excited to bring today's guest, Fletcher Ellingson. He is the author. Yay! We'll talk about his book in just a moment. Speaker and a mindset coach. Very excited to have you.
Thank you. Great to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
So, Fletcher, you wrote an amazing book, The Practice of Feeling Good in Life and Business. And that's such an interesting concept, which could be a foreign concept to many people. I think I may understand it a little bit, but you know what? Let's hear what that means to you.
Sure. The practice of feeling good. So I believe that most of us, and I'll speak for myself, this was my experience for much of my life. I was extremely practiced at feeling insecure. I was practiced at feeling fearful, anxious, overwhelmed, judgmental, self-critical, critical of others. I was practiced at all those things, meaning I didn't have to think about it. It came very easily to me. Okay. Anxiety, fear, all that stuff came very easily to me. I was extremely practiced at it. So I believe that what we are all after is an experience that feels good. We want to feel good. And feeling good just doesn't just mean happy. In fact, I like to feel happy, but it's a term I rarely use. When I say the practice of feeling good, what I mean is the practice of feeling connected, the practice of feeling optimistic, eager, enthusiastic, excited, safe. There's so many ways of feeling good, connected, content, optimistic. There's so many different ways, and calm and courageous are other ways that come to other ways of feeling good. And what I invite people to consider is that it takes practice to do this. Most of us think that our emotions descend down upon us and that we don't have much to do with that. So if we're in a bad mood, and somebody asks you, "Hey, what's going on?" "Oh, I don't know. I'm just in a bad mood." "Oh, why?" "Oh, I don't know. It'll pass though." It's like we have to wait for our emotions to ascend and descend, and we have very little influence. What I want to suggest is that we have incredible influence on how we experience the moment, but it takes intention and it takes a lot of practice.
There's so much to unpack there. Oh my God, we start right from the beginning with incredible value. How do you practice? What are your best favorite, the most simplistic tips and tools to continue practice? It doesn't sound like it's one and done. You have to continuously practice. And that to me is the greatest thing that people can take away from your wisdom today. What are those tips? Tell us.
Okay, great question. Yeah, so how do I begin to practice feeling good? Well, to answer that question, we're going to look at how people practice feeling not good, meaning anxious or fearful, all those things I mentioned previously. So what we do when we feel anxious or fearful, we're focused on a particular story. We're focused on a story that, oh, I might embarrass myself. Oh, I might get called out. Oh, I don't have the answer. there's too much to do. I don't know where to start. I might get it wrong. We're focused on all those stories. And here's the deal. Your brain is not judging those stories. It doesn't care about those stories. All your brain knows is that if Fletcher is focused on a story about fear or embarrassing himself, we have to cue up the chemicals in the brain and the gut, right? So all those hormones, we have to cue those up and deploy them through the nervous system, because the brain has to create an emotional reaction that is in alignment with the story that you're focused on. So if you're focused on a fear-based story, the brain, again, it doesn't care, it doesn't judge. It just says, oh, Fletcher's focused on a fear-based story. Cue up the cortisol, cue up the adrenaline, and let's give him a fear, an experience of massive fear. So that's how we go throughout the day. We're focused on something, which is ultimately a story, and that story informs the brain of which chemicals to release, which emotion to deploy. And then we experience that in a millisecond through our nervous system. Now, if that's what we're doing during most of the day, we come back to your original question, how do we begin to practice feeling good? It all comes down to our story. Okay, so if I want to feel excited, I can think about, hey, I'm going to be on Geni's show today, right? It's going to be fun. We're going to have a great conversation. We're going to connect. I get to meet somebody new. I get to learn about somebody. I get to be inspired by her, right? I love podcasting. I love the podcasting space. I get to spend time in that space, right? I get to learn from somebody who's out there doing it. Yeah, exactly, right? So we begin to focus on the story, and my brain, again, it's not judging the story. It doesn't care about the story. It just says, oh, Fletcher's really looking forward to this. Cue the chemicals. All right, let's get the adrenaline and the dopamine and start having a feel-good experience. And so that's the practice. The practice is, how can I become more intentional about the stories that I'm telling myself? If I want to feel excited, I've got to think, all right, or I'll give you one more example. I love Maui, for instance. I love going to Maui. It's one of my favorite places in the world. If I begin to think about walking down the beach in the surf and seeing Lanai and seeing Molokai, the other islands out there on West Maui, if I begin to picture the sunrise and swimming in the ocean and seeing the turtles, my body begins to feel good. I've literally changed the chemistry in my body. How? By focusing on something that I really love. And so if I want to feel good on demand, I can begin telling myself stories that will affect my biochemistry. Now, that might seem like really elementary, and it is. But it's not that complicated. Now, the brain is this magnificent tool, but influencing it is not that complicated. What you focus on, you feel. We've all heard that expression, right? We've seen it on Facebook and Instagram. What you focus on, you feel. It's more than a cute meme. It's actually how our brain works. Wherever you place your focus, your brain, again, does not judge it. It just says, oh, we're focused on that. Cue up a chemical response that's in alignment with that story.
That's amazing. Hey, folks. Yeah. Hey, folks, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
This episode is brought to you by Unique Marketer. Now imagine your business leading, not following. Meet Unique Marketer. We don't shout or whisper in a way that brings everyone to listen. Unique Marketer changes the game with connection marketing. We turn our audiences into communities, eager for your story. Insightful tools guide us, not just an attitude of sales. Our approach: connect, resonate, transform. If you're interested in learning more, Unique Marketer gives Geni's Way listeners a free digital analysis and strategy goal. Use Listen Up with the link in show notes. Lead with Unique Marketer, where we help your business shine.
So, Fletcher, you were mentioning, is it really that simple? We can just paint a different picture and just focus on that. And actually, when you were describing that, I can feel every minute of it. And by the way, I also love Maui. That just is a magical place to me.
Yes.
It was something, the most spectacular experience. And I'm so happy you brought it because it's been so long. I tend to forget it. What are your thoughts on that? Do you just surround yourself with people that help you bring those amazing memories? And it's really that simple?
Yes, it is that simple. Now, it takes practice. The practice is more difficult than the actual methodology. Okay, it takes more practice to be intentional because most of the time we're on autopilot. Okay. The vast majority of the time we're on autopilot. We're not being intentional. We're being habitual. Okay. So the challenging part of this practice is to be mindful, to be intentional. So and how do we do that? Well, accountability works super well. So for instance, my wife and I, we have tea in the morning on the couch. We frequently will do gratitudes, or if we're going on a drive to a town, because I live in a very small town. So if we travel about 45 minutes to an hour to get to the next biggest town where we do a lot of our shopping and meeting our kids and stuff like that. But anyway, so on a car ride, we frequently will say, hey, let's do a round of gratitude, or tell me something you're grateful for, or tell me something you're looking forward to, or tell me something that feels good in your body that maybe you've been growing through. That's the practice. Now, at first it can seem uncomfortable and weird. Ooh, what do you mean? You mean you want me to say out loud things I'm grateful for? You want me to say out loud the wins that I'm noticing in my life? Yeah, that's exactly what I want you to do. I want you to say it out loud. I want you to begin a practice where you're speaking these things into the physical space. Why? Because when we speak it, it's very different than just thinking it. We're using very different muscles and activating different parts of the brain, and it amplifies the experience in the body when we share it out loud. And plus, if you're uncomfortable sharing that out loud, that's an opportunity to get curious. Oh gosh, why am I uncomfortable talking about things that feel good? Why? Because it's a departure from what you normally do, which is bitch and complain and moan. Okay? All right? And
no,
right?
we're not bitching. Who? Never.
Right? And I'm raising my hand too, okay? I've got years of all of that. So we're practiced at that. I don't have to be intentional about complaining. That comes easily. I've got my 10,000 plus hours in, okay? But I want to work on the next 10,000 hours of talking about what feels good, about giving praise, about giving acknowledgement, about offering compliments, about offering assistance, about offering kindness. And I love kindness, Geni. So kindness highlights people's strengths instead of reminding them of their weaknesses. And how I define kindness is friendliness, generosity, consideration, and the willingness to offer assistance without the need for praise or recognition. And that's an incredible practice in itself. But I want to bring all this back now, and let's make it really personal, okay? So is it okay if I ask you a couple questions?
Sure.
All right. So if we decide that we want to practice feeling good, and it really is as simple as focusing on a story to elicit that emotion, that corresponding emotion, what I want to ask you is, in your life, in your day-to-day life, what emotions would you like to experience more of?
Excitement, peace, love, collaboration, kindness,
Okay, great, great. So excitement. Let's just take that one, all right? Because people love to feel excited, right?
Yeah.
It feels good in the body, right?
It does.
It's
It
kind of like
gives a
that.
chemistry. That's not
Yes,
to
yeah,
get
right.
into
There's this.
biochemistry. That's not a biochemistry lesson.
That's right, and because in excitement, you kind of feel like that buzz in your body, right? That anticipation. So if we wanted to feel more excitement, what would you have to begin to focus on to feel more excited about life?
Paint a picture of any upcoming experience that I can focus on. Like, for example, let's do real life examples since we're talking
Yeah,
about in the
let's do
moment,
it.
real life example. When I thought about interviewing Fletcher yesterday, believe it or not, I do think about interviews at least a few days ahead. I was excited. And the reason why I was excited more than one, first, he has a tons of wisdom and wrote an incredible book and very transformational story of his own life. But also, that brings me excitement to my life because I'm getting to shine the light a person that I believe in what he believes in, and I can support his mission. So he created the mission for his life, for his community, and for his clients, and for podcasting world out there to say. So I am excited about supporting his mission. In other words, I am amplifying the practice of feeling good. I am giving it 100% my energy to spread in the world. And that in itself an excitement. And that's the reason why I am doing podcasting. Because every time it doesn't get old. That's the beauty for me. I've been doing it for almost 2 years. Every time I do recording, it's exciting. Every time I think about recording, it's exciting. Every time I think about how do I highlight my guests so they can shine, it's exciting. Every time it's published, it's exciting. So it's like this is you guys. All of the shows are unscripted. Fletcher said, "You want to play a game? Sure, let's play a game." And being able to be open to whatever opportunities and possibilities. I know you're really big about it. That also gives me the excitement of embracing that experience, of embracing uncertainty and what can come out of it. And it's always
Yes.
great when you envision that excitement because that energy produces those chemicals.
Yes. Okay, I love that. Nicely illustrated. The more and more you began to share your answer, I could see the energy in your body. I could see the change. You began to affect the emotional state, and it came out in the way you were speaking, in your word choice, and your eyes getting bigger, and you're smiling,
Mm,
leaning forward into the camera. You
mm,
began to feel excited.
wow.
So this is actually the perfect example. You want to feel more excitement in life? Begin to focus on the things that excite you.
Mm,
You want to feel more romantic? Think of a story that's romantic. If you want to feel more connected, think of the times in your life when you have felt connected and when you can look forward to feeling connected again. Would you like to feel kind or grateful? Think of all the beautiful things. You know what I love about gratitude?
mm-hmm,
Gratitude is the acknowledgement of something for which you cannot take credit.
mm,
That's why gratitude is so incredibly important and why it's so profoundly impacting.
mm,
You're recognizing and acknowledging something outside of you for which you cannot take credit. Like when I'm at Maui, I can't take credit for anything there. The islands, the sun, the ocean, the marine life. I can't take credit for anything. I am so grateful that I get to be there and experience that. And it's like I did nothing to deserve it. It's simply there and I get to experience. I'm so grateful for that. So, want to feel more grateful? Yes. Look outside of yourself. Begin to take an inventory of the world around you and you will feel incredibly grateful. Like we're in spring right now and I live in a
mm-hmm,
part of the country that's absolutely stunning. The trees are in blossom, are blooming. Things are growing out of the ground. Right, lots of flowers, lots of colors, lots of bumblebees. This is a wonderful time of feeling good, but we must practice being intentional. And that's what it comes down to. It also comes down to making a commitment to feeling good. Okay? So let's pause there for a second and talk about this thing called empowerment. I love to feel empowered.
Who doesn't?
Okay? Exactly, right? Who doesn't? We love to feel empowered. But if we want to feel empowered, we have to understand what creates an experience of being empowered. And so this is, and I am on this tangent because I just said the word commitment. So the only time that we can feel empowered, actually empowered, is when we take responsibility for the commitments that we've made. Okay? Now,
So powerful.
if you have not made any commitments, you can't feel empowered. In fact, what you'll feel is disempowered. Okay, there will be an absence of empowerment. It will be missing. Okay, now if you want it, so what I want your listeners to hear right now is, if you are in a place in your life where you're feeling disempowered, there's one of two things happening. One, you're not taking responsibility for the commitments you've made. Because when we don't take responsibility for them, we feel disempowered. Or number two, you haven't made any commitments for which you can take responsibility. Now, some people are commitment averse. They don't like making commitments. But what that sadly leaves you in is in a place of experiencing massive disempowerment. Okay? In order to avoid pain, I just won't make any commitments. But you're going to live and play a very small game of life. Okay? Now, if I want to feel empowered, I'm going to begin to make commitments. And when I take responsibility for those commitments, then I feel, oh, cool, I did that. I said I was going to do it and I did it. Okay? The sense of empowerment is in taking responsibility. It's not the accomplishment. It's in taking the responsibility toward the accomplishment. Does that make sense?
Yeah. What would you
Yeah.
say to people where they feel stuck, and one of the reasons maybe because they're scared to make commitment? How would you help them? What that maybe a question they need to ask themselves?
Yeah.
Or they're like, I know I want to get to the next level, and it comes up in the conversation with entrepreneurs. This is mostly who is listening to Geni's way. It's like, I feel stuck, and then usually I bring a series of questions, but I want to know what would be a couple of questions they need to ask themselves. Is maybe it's the fear of commitment. I know there's a bunch of fears that could be, but what questions would you ask? How would you help them?
Yeah. So first off, I would ask them this. Is this a familiar pattern? Have I been here before? Okay. We want to get curious. We want to get curious about our patterns. Because ultimately what we want to do is we want to get radical. And you and I mentioned just briefly on this before we started recording, radical, the way I define radical is it's a departure from the norm. It's a departure from what's usual. Now, radical doesn't have to, be massive. It could be a very small departure from the norm. Okay? For instance, if you are in the game in the entrepreneur game, and that requires reaching out, doing a lot of outreach calls, perhaps you made a goal of, oh my gosh, I'm going to make 25 calls a day, and you find yourself not doing it. Okay. Well, then let's get curious. Have I been here before? Have I seen this pattern before? Oh yeah, I have seen this pattern before. I make these big commitments that are way out of my comfort zone, and they scare me so much that I don't take action, that I retreat from acting. Okay, well, what would be a radical departure? A radical departure would be, I'm going to make 2 calls on Monday.
Okay.
I'm going to make 2. Now, some people would listen to me and say, oh, Fletcher, come on, 2, that's nothing. No. If 2 calls gets me into the game, if 2 calls gets me in action, that's a celebration. That's a win. That's something to get excited about. How many calls did you complete today? I did 2. I committed to 2 and I did 2. Oh, you mean you took responsibility for the commitment you made? I did. How do you feel? Empowered.
Mm.
I was my word. I kept my word to myself.
Mm.
That's awesome. How many will you make tomorrow? I'm going to do another 2 tomorrow. Anything above 2, that's a bonus.
Mm.
Ooh, I made 3 calls today, Fletcher. I committed to 2, but I did an extra one. How does
Yay.
that feel? Empowered, exciting. I feel proud, right? So that's radical. Most people's goals, now, I'm going to sound very contrary to what many people say about goal setting. A lot of people say, well, if your goal's not big enough, if it doesn't scare you, it's not a good enough goal.
Let's be radical on Geni's way. Come on, Fletcher. We got this. Let's be radical.
That's right. That's right. Let's get radical. How about if we set ourselves up for success? How about if we begin to take little tiny baby steps? Right? Just baby steps. I'm going to call 2 people, 3 people. I'm going to send out 3 or 4 emails instead of the 25 I said I was going to do. Now, look, if you do 10, now you're in bonus land. Great. Celebrate it. But take these baby steps to set yourself up for success, because that feels way better than not even coming close to your goal.
Mm.
And the better we feel, the more inclined we are to keep going. The better we feel, the better we communicate, the better we parent, the better we marriage, the better we love, the better we lead, the better we work. The better you feel, the more effective you become in life. So we want to put the emphasis on feeling good, because that puts us into productive action.
Wow, so much to unpack there here again. A couple of things I want to amplify here. I can so much relate to what you were saying, baby steps, and that is radical, because you rather be in. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to keep that momentum. I know you're big about having the momentum, and I'm going to bring it up back to you. The ball will be back in your court. Like, how do you keep the momentum? What if you, for example, let's do real life situation. Someone is afraid of rejection, right? Let's bring back the sales situation, which I feel that a lot of entrepreneurs struggle, especially if they did something like 9 to 5 corporate job. The clients were given to them. Now they own their own, and they have to like do it all. One of the biggest challenges, not to mention like they try to figure out like, who is their ideal client or what have you. They are afraid to pick up the phone, and they're afraid of the rejection. And what happens if they make those 2 phone calls and they get to hear no? What would you tell them to do? How can they keep that positive momentum?
Yes. Okay. Great. Great question. So first of all, let's define what momentum is. How do we create momentum? Okay. Because we all love momentum. Momentum feels really good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we want that experience. Oh, we want to feel like I'm in the zone, right? We want to feel like, oh man, I'm making progress. I've got momentum. The ball is rolling, right? Okay, so for those of you listening, I'm going to give you the formula for creating momentum on demand. You experience momentum in your life when your thinking is in alignment with your desired outcome. I'll say that again. You experience this thing called momentum when your thinking is in alignment with your outcome. Now, why does that work? Well, it works because I'll give you, I'll contrast it first by when we have experienced the thing that's the opposite of momentum, which is called resistance. We've all felt resistance. Again, we're masterful when it comes to resisting.
Oh no, we have no resistance. Nah, never.
Right? Yeah. So resistance is the experience of thinking that is not in alignment with your desired outcomes. Apply that to your marriage. Ooh, when I feel resistance in my marriage, it's because my thinking is not in alignment with my desired outcomes. Same thing for your business. Oh, I got to make those calls today. I'm not looking forward to it. My thinking's not even in alignment with my desired outcome. I don't want to do the calls. That thinking is not in alignment. Oh, they'll probably say no. That thinking is not in alignment. I'll probably be interrupting them. They probably don't have time to talk. They probably already have a different product that they're using. I'm probably too expensive. They probably don't have the budget for it. All of that thinking is resistant to the desired outcome. It is not in alignment. So what you've got is resistance, and resistance is the brake. So you cannot take meaningful action beyond that. So what do we begin to have to do then? We first of all have to realize that this type of thinking is going on. And it is killing your business. It is killing your relationships. It is killing your relationship with yourself. This thinking is poison. I'm not joking. It is poison. It will poison your finances, your health, your wealth, your relationships. We have to begin to create momentum, and we do that by getting intentional about our thinking. You know what? I do have a great product. You know what? I care about my clients. I care about these people that I haven't even met. You know what? I want to make a difference for others. What I've got has value. I have value. In fact, I think they need my product. They need my services. I think that I can help them in their business. I think that I can bring value and make a difference for their life. Now I'm beginning to think in alignment with my desired outcome. You know what? There are plenty of opportunities out there, as opposed to, boy, there's just no opportunities. Tough market out there. Tough market out there, Geni. I don't know. You might want to consider another career. A lot of podcasters in that space. No. You know what? This is the now more than ever, we need people like you. Now more than ever, we need messages of hope. Now more than ever, we need reminders that real people care. Now more than ever, we need messages of kindness. We need to see people talking about kindness, exhibiting kindness, being a source of contribution. That feels good. Right?
I want to amplify something very important, and you guys need to rewind and listen what Fletcher just said. I want to amplify something what Fletcher was saying. Someone will think it's affirmation. It's declaration, and I know you're really big on that, because the biggest difference between affirmation and declaration, if you guys like go back and rewind what he just said, you will see when he was speaking, he spoke with such an emotion. He felt every word of it. It wasn't just empty words. You need to feel every word of it. That's why people say affirmation don't work, because they don't have the emotion. They don't feel the words. What you experience when people come to you say, oh, it's not working. How do you help them to break this? Affirmation doesn't work, because it's really not affirmation, are they? I mean, what you experience with working with people as a mindset coach, how do you break that pattern?
I'm so glad you brought this up. I'm actually going to be doing a post about this in the very near future for many reasons. But yeah, so thank you for the opportunity to talk to this. An affirmation is you are affirming something that you know to be accurate or that you want to be accurate. Okay? You're affirming it. You're declaring it. Okay? We're not asking for it. We're not hoping it. We are declaring. Okay? And there is great power in that. Consider that through affirmations, most people have affirmed that they don't have what it takes, that money and clients are hard to get, that the world is going to hell in a handbasket, okay? That they don't care about me, that I'm not good enough. we're constantly affirming these things.
Yeah.
And so it's no wonder that we don't have momentum. What we have is a ton of resistance and insecurity and inaction and disempowerment. Why? Because that's the power of language. What you speak repeatedly into the physical space becomes your reality. Okay? Now, the power of language is the number one tool that we're always creating with. It's the number one tool. If you want more clients, if you want more wealth, if you want more connection, if you want more experiences, you speak them into existence. Okay? Look, I can't get to Maui unless I first speak the sentence, I'm going to Maui. If I never speak it, it will never happen. Okay? So it's the beginning. And then what you said, I love, because I forgot what I was going to say, but let me say this. I want to give this quote by Helen Keller. That living word awakened my soul, gave it light, hope, joy, set it free. That living word awakened my soul. You see, when Helen Keller first got language, her whole world opened up and she began creating. She couldn't create before. She didn't have language with which to create her life. And as a result of getting language, she became college educated. She became published. She became an activist. She even performed on vaudeville shows, live vaudeville shows, right? Language allowed her to create. We're always creating with our language, but most of what we're creating simply isn't very inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also learning Spanish right now.
Oh, cool.
Okay. And I've tried Babbel and I've tried Duolingo. These are great programs. But I finally found one that works really, really well. And the reason it works really, really well is because it's based on natural learning styles, which is to get you speaking. You simply listen and repeat. It's called Pimsleur app. I'm not getting paid to say this, but it's such a fantastic app because I'm just listening, repeating. I don't have to look at a screen. I don't have to click on anything. I'm listening, repeating. And in my car for 45 minutes, I'll be listening. Now, the whole crux of this app is you speak it. You don't think it. Because if you just think it, if you listen and think it in your head, you're not going to become, you're not going to gain the ability to speak Spanish. The speaking is required to learn how to become proficient in Spanish. The speaking of it. Okay? It's the practice of it. So, to those people who say, oh, I don't know about those affirmations, I invite you to consider that they're incredibly effective. And when you, oh yeah, I remember what you said now. Yes. When you bring the emotion to it, it moves from an affirmation to a declaration. And don't we love to declare something?
Oh, yeah.
It feels great to declare. I'm alive. It feels good to be alive.
Yeah.
Right? Who I am is. I love declaring who I am. Who I am is a clearing for others to feel safe, heard, and empowered. I declare who I am. I don't have to discover who I am. I don't have to question who I am. I get to declare who I am in this life.
That's powerful.
It is, right?
And freeing.
And freeing, yes. And how good does freedom feel, right?
That's why I'm United States. I was born in Ukraine. I came to the United States for freedom. And when you were saying that, you declare who you are. You declare who you want to be and what you want to do. That's powerful. And that's freedom. Because we get to choose what we think about. No one can dictate what we think about. Can people dictate us what we should think about?
No. Yeah,
Is it
you're
up to
spot on,
us?
yeah.
Is it up to us to monitor the story we tell ourselves? be aware of the stories we tell ourselves. We're going back
Yes.
to where we started. Seems like
You got it. We come full circle, right?
full circle
Now,
right now. What's the story? To me, I like, okay, tell me your typical morning. What do you do the very first thing you open your eyes?
um, so my wife and I, um, whoever wakes up first, we get out of bed and we go put the tea kettle on.
Mm-hmm.
And then that person makes tea, and then the other person a few minutes later will join that person who made the tea on the couch, and we just spend time being quiet and connecting. No
Love it.
phones yet, no screens yet. It's just me, my wife, the dog. I'm looking over at the dog now. My
Woo.
dog Jack and our cat, and they come up for a morning snuggle, and we have our tea and look at the sunshine.
And that's feeling good for Fletcher.
That feels good. That feels good for me. Yes, that's a good way to start the morning.
It doesn't have anything very complicated. It's the simple things that help you feel good. It's the connection. It's the warm, fuzzy feeling of your family. And whoever doesn't have the spouse or partner, significant other, then there are animals, or they can call a friend that raised
Yeah.
them up. Listen to music. Anything else? Like, do you meditate? What else do you do, like, to keep yourself grounded?
Yeah, I definitely do meditation. I like my meditation practice is specifically about watching my mind work. Um,
Did you say watching your mind work?
Correct, watching my mind work.
Interesting. What is that?
Yeah, so for me, meditation is I'm not trying to quiet my mind.
Ah.
A lot of people trying to quiet it. For me, that
Mm-hmm.
seems like work. And instead, what I do is I just separate myself from my mind, because you see, our brain is always working without our permission, consent, or approval. It's constantly generating thoughts,
Mm.
right? So we have about like between 50,000 and 70,000 thoughts every single day.
Mhm.
A high 90, like 98, 99% of those thoughts are the same thoughts that I thought yesterday and the day before and the day before. Very little new thinking.
Mm.
So it's just like my brain, which is an organ in the head, it produces these thoughts without my permission. Would you agree with that? Like your brain is constantly generating thoughts, and you didn't say, "Hey,
Yeah.
brain, I want you to think this." It just thinks it.
That's what happens. It's an autopilot. And you ask me, is that what I think? Yeah, absolutely. And then if you don't bring focus, you mentioned that, to kind of narrow it down on the direction, then what happens, Fletcher?
Yeah, exactly. Then you start to feel terrible because your brain is focusing on things that don't feel good.
Mm.
And by the way, it's focusing on things, most of which are not even accurate, because it's
Mm.
constantly bringing up worst case scenarios. Okay.
Why is that?
So what's that?
Why is that? Why was it happening? People keep always asking me that, like, why we come up with the worst case scenario? And it's not just
Yes.
you and me; it's everybody. It seems like I talk
Yes.
to.
Because the brain is wired to always keep you protected.
Yeah.
So it will look for the worst case scenarios so that it's on your mind, like, oh, I don't want that to happen, so I better do this. I better do this, or I better avoid that, or I better not make that commitment, right? So it's always trying to protect you. So it's not a bad thing. It's just always trying to protect you. So when I meditate, what I try to do is separate myself from the machine that's running.
Hmm.
And there's this sweet spot where you can get in meditation where you're simply observing the brain working. You can see all the thoughts. I'm not trying to slow them down. I'm just like, oh, there's that thought. There's that thought. Oh, there's another thought. I don't want to get hooked into the thoughts. I'm just noticing that the brain is, and it's like watching a computer at work.
Hmm.
But it can be very relaxing. It can be very, it doesn't take a lot of energy. You're not getting sucked into it emotionally. You're just noticing, oh, that machine is running. Oh, there it goes. Thinking thoughts.
Hmm.
And I'm noticing that it's thinking thoughts.
Hmm.
So that's part of something I do for grounding. And then, like I talked with Sue on the other podcast recently, I love to be outside. I love to get grounded. I love to be grounded with nature. I love being in the sun. I love being on the water on paddle boards. I love going for walks. Connecting with nature is a big part of my life, and that's where oftentimes where I do a lot of good thinking.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. It seems like you see meditation more from a curious perspective. Like we all should like observing and curious, like, oh, what is my brain doing, kind of thing. That's a very different perspective. I want to get your perspective and people to understand how important to have skills of being able to forgiveness. But before you answer, I want you to emphasize the difference between forgiveness other people and mostly what I've seen in practicing and speaking with a lot of different uh, clients and people over the course of, I don't know, 10, 20 years, that a lot of people are able to forgive others, but forget to forgive themselves. And that's where they feel stuck. From what I've seen, what are your thoughts on that? And how would you go about helping people with that issue?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is a fantastic topic. Thanks for asking this question. And boy, this is so important. A lot of people have a complicated relationship with forgiveness. Forgiving others and forgiving themselves, like you said. So the more you get to know me, you'll understand that I really value defining terms, defining words, defining concepts. We have to understand there's something that occurred that is requiring us to forgive. Something happened, and then there's this opportunity for us to forgive. Now, most people think, oh, forgiveness is such a beautiful thing. But what I really want you to get is something happened before this need to forgive. And it's not pretty. It is not very attractive at all. In fact, it's pretty ugly. What happened is that, and let me just make I'm going to put one caveat in here, one clarification, because some people are going to hear this and they're going to be, oh, Fletcher, and then they're going to go to an extreme example. Okay? I'm not talking about war, rape, things of this nature. I'm talking about more day-to-day relationships and things. What happened, there's something happened before we had to forgive. What happened was that we judged somebody. We judged them. That's why we have to forgive them. Mm. It's not about what they did. It's about the story of judgment that we brought to the table. We judged them and we said, they shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have said that. They shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have stole that. They shouldn't have cheated me. They shouldn't have whatever. And they did that, and they're an evil person. They're a bad person. They're this, they're that. What we did was we created a massive story of judgment. Now, like I said, this is not pretty, but it is so necessary. Because it's one of the things we're extremely practiced at is judging other people. Yeah, me too. Right? And judging ourselves.
Yeah. Oh, more than others.
I should be further along than I am. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have done that. Oh, I should have saved more. I should have. Oh, I'm such a terrible person. Oh God, I'm so impatient. Oh, I'm so this, I'm so that. I'm so lousy when it comes to. We're judging, and then comes the need to forgive. Forgiveness is simply dropping your judgment. That's what forgiveness is. I'm no longer going to associate you with my story of judgment.
Mm.
I drop my story of judgment, and I also drop my desire for punishment.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah. Big concepts, right? I mean, this is profound stuff.
Yeah.
So we could eliminate the need for forgiveness in our society if we could eliminate our tendency to judge others. The less we judge, the less we have to forgive. Now, look, we think forgiveness is this beautiful thing, and it is, but what I'm saying is we only have to forgive because we judged in the first place.
So if we practice of feeling good, we will not have to forgive anybody, including ourselves. We kind of came to full
Exactly.
circle, isn't it?
It's exactly.
That's
So
interesting.
let me offer one. So because some people are going to say, well, Fletcher, you would judge them too. You know how they treated me? He cheated on me. She cheated on me. They stole money from me. They whatever. How do you bring a feel-good story to that? Now, so like, I don't expect anybody to like embrace this, but this really, for me, is the answer. I mean, I hope they embrace it, but it takes practice to embrace this. They could be no other way. Oh, they can take responsibility for that. Look, I'm a Fletcher machine. Fletcher does what Fletcher does. Yeah, but he can change. No. He could, the way he was at the moment that it happened, that's all he could do with his programming, with his beliefs, the way he was practiced at showing up in life. He couldn't be other than he was. He couldn't have done other than he was. Well, he could have made a different decision. No, he couldn't have made a different decision because he didn't. Now, in a different parallel universe, in some sort of fantasy world, maybe that version could have, but in the real life, no, that's what he did. But why? Because that's him and his thinking. Look, I've done a lot of stuff, Geni, that I'm not proud of. And that was me at my best. That was me using whatever level of thinking I had at the time. And those mistakes helped me evolve. So, why are they doing that? Because that's them. You would do the exact same thing if you were in their shoes and you had their upbringing. If you had their education or their lack of education, if you had their parenting or lack of parenting, if you had their exact life, you would do the exact thing. You're a Geni machine. I'm a Fletcher machine. My wife is an Amy machine. My children are, she's a Naomi machine, an Oliver machine. They all have their own thinking and beliefs and machinery, and they're doing the best they can. We're all doing the best we can given our situation. And that's the empowering story. Everyone is doing the best they can with their thinking. And because I can realize that, I can have empathy and compassion. And I don't need to judge. Now, my brain will say, God, why do they do that? But now I know. So that question now triggers my final feel-good answer. Why did they do that? Because that's a Fletcher machine. That's a Geni machine. They're acting out of their programming.
That's
and I would
profound.
do the same thing.
That's profound.
We're all doing the best we can.
Very, very, very profound. If people can understand that, there won't be any judgment, and they will be able to practice feeling good. So
Exactly.
it's I think what it feels to me, practice of feeling good is not one theory, not one perspective. It's continuously finding the way and having, first of all, an awareness what is it I need to do in my day-to-day life to feel good? What judgments do I need to drop? Is it toward others, toward myself? What
Yes.
practices I need to try? Is it listening to music? Is it connecting to people feel to my soul, to the universe, energy universe, to praying to God? I mean, I don't feel like there is one answer for all. What are your thoughts on that? What works for me may not work for you, because we are individuals, but overall we all want to feel good. And what is the best way to feel good? Commitment. Oh my God, I almost forgot when you were talking about commitment. I think, and you tell me, from my perspective, the biggest thing, if you can take away from this conversation, if you commit, not if, there you go. Language means a lot. I often correct my clients, don't use the word if. When you make a decision and commit that your way of living is, as Fletcher would say, practicing feeling good, and I love it. I mean, it's a different perspective from practicing how you live. Then if you commit, you will find a way. And as long as you drop that judgment, say, well, today wasn't such a great day, but it's okay. I'm going to keep trying. And small victories every day.
Yes.
Stu and I talk that we have to celebrate small victories and
Yes.
connection to natures. What is the top 3 or 5, however many tools you will say, tips that we can help ourselves on a daily basis to be fully committed and continuously having that momentum to not, kind of take detours, and allowing yourself to feel good every day as much as we can. Feeling good,
Yeah.
like you said, is not happy, all sunshine and roses. It's other feelings, and that's why we have all those feelings. So what would be
Yes.
the most effective tools for you? I know we mentioned already a lot of different incredible things. What would be your top 3 to 5 tools?
Yeah. I love it. So number 1, practicing gratitude. And I
Okay.
know this is like everybody says this. If you've heard this over and over and over, and you're like, oh, practicing gratitude, what I want to ask you is, are you doing it?
Yeah.
Are you actually doing it? It's not just knowing about it. Look, knowledge is not power. There's a misunderstanding, and there's a quote that says knowledge is power. No, knowledge is not power.
Practices.
It is applying knowledge. It is practicing and applying knowledge that is powerful.
Yeah.
Okay? So knowing that gratitude is important will not make a difference in your life. Practicing gratitude will. Not just once in a while, a practice. While you're brushing your teeth, do gratitudes. All right, so you'll at least have one or 2 sessions a day. Find a time where you can associate, and you can. Oh, I'm brushing my teeth. That's my time to do gratitudes. Or
Love it.
I'm right. You create. You bundle things together. Okay. So gratitude is huge. Getting curious is the second. Okay. So moving away from judgment of others to like, oh, I wonder why Geni did that. Why did she say that? What did she mean by that? Instead of just judging her, like, I wonder what's going on for her. Get curious about yourself too. What do I actually think about that, and why do I think that? Oh, does this create workability in my life? Does it move me forward? Is it creating opportunity or holding me back? Practice curiosity. Huge, right? Number 3, acceptance. Accept others for their programming. We never know how it's been for them. They're doing the best they can. Assume that others are doing the best they can. Yeah, but Fletcher, they're being a total jackass. I know. And that's their best in this moment. I've been a jackass. Number 4, and probably this will be the last one, lead with kindness. Okay, remember, kindness is friendliness, generosity, consideration, and the willingness to offer assistance without the need for recognition and praise. If we lead with kindness, that means we're highlighting people's strengths instead of their weaknesses. We're uniting people instead of dividing people. Kindness fosters well-being instead of injury. It feels good to give it, it feels good to receive it, and it feels good to be around it.
This is great. This is a great summary. Let's see. I'll add a couple of and see if you want to say anything else after that. I feel like commitment is make a choice to commit to feeling good. I think I already mentioned that. And I know you talk about, you have a radical ideas that we probably shouldn't get in the full discussion a while. You can always come back. But I do want to add, it's not, as Fletcher would say, it's not the values, it's the standard that you need to raise, the standard. What's your standards? What are you able to tolerate?
Yeah.
What is it you're able to tolerate? And celebrating small wins all around, all on your journey. Those are a couple of things that you comment, please, and we will be wrapping up. This is incredible conversation. You guys heard so much wisdom from Fletcher and little steps that you can take every day to be committed to practicing feeling good. It's the way of living, and I'm so happy that Fletcher wrote the book, and you guys check it out. Anything else you want to add in the summary?
Yeah. And here's the book, The Practice of Feeling Good, how to upgrade your thinking and live a feel-good life. You can grab a copy of it on Amazon. And I will also give away one free copy of my book to anyone. If you're listening to this, if you hear Geni's broadcast of this, you can email me directly at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. Let me know that you heard the podcast. And if you're the first one to do that, I'll send you a free signed copy of my book.
That's awesome. All right. You guys, mindset is very important. Make a commitment to practice of feeling good. And there's nothing much more we can add because this is where it's at. So happy we had the chance to speak with you, Fletcher. Thank you for coming.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Until next time, we'll see you soon.
Here's the truth. You don't have to feel amazing every second of the day, but you do have to commit to feeling good more often. Fletcher reminded us today that your mindset is your momentum. When you shift your language, your focus, and your story, your whole life begins to change. If this episode lit a spark, make sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. And remember, your next breakthrough might just begin with a better morning and kinder thoughts. Until next time, see you!